Hello, I'm your professor, Dr. Stephen Haggard, and today we're going to talk about what to do if you think you might want to be a small business person. First of all, let's talk about some misconceptions about owning your own business. The first one that I hear is that owning your own business means you don't have to work. Nothing could be further from the truth. Owning your own business means you're going to be doing a lot of work. So as a professional, and my wife's a professional too, we are fortunate to have professional salaries and we can live in a nice neighborhood. And we live there with some physicians and many people who own their own businesses. And one thing that I've noticed about these folks is that they leave very early in the morning and they come back late in the evening compared to people with a regular job working at a regular company for someone else. And so don't think that having your own business means you don't have to work. Also, people tend to think that owning your own business means that you are your own boss. And there's some truth to that, but the bigger truth is that you have many bosses. They are called your customers. And it only takes a few of them to make your life a living hell, especially in the age of Yelp and Google reviews and things like that. And so don't be too overly sure that you are going to be your own boss. You may just be trading a single boss for many. Another one is that owning your own business will make you independently wealthy. I know a number of small business people who are actually making less money than they would be if they were working in industry. There are various reasons why they choose to be small business owners, and they're obviously maximizing their own personal happiness by doing so. But don't think that just because you own your own business that you are going to be rich. And the final one that I see a lot among people, misconception, is that because I am a frequent customer of this type of business, then I would be good at running this kind of business. And I hear this all the time about restaurants and bars. People say, oh, I eat at restaurants all the time, so I would know how to run one. That is not true. What you see at the restaurant is the tip of the iceberg. There's all sorts of stuff that happens before the restaurant opens, and there are sorts of things that happen after the restaurant closes, and there are all sorts of things going on in that kitchen that you don't know about and probably don't want to know about. As a result of having many students over the years who've worked in restaurants, I know, for example, that the kitchen help in restaurants tend to abuse marijuana much greater than most people in the population. I don't know why this is, but this is one of the things that you learn as you dig a little more deeply into these things. So be careful thinking that just because you enjoy going to the dry cleaner that you would be good at running a dry cleaner. Another thing that we should talk about is the need to try before you buy. It's amazing how many people will quit their job and buy a small business and then figure out what the business is actually about after they have bought it. And this sounds good because you're able to maintain that professional salary right up to the last minute when you start your new life with your small business. But it's a huge risk. It's a huge risk of your financial capital, and it's a huge risk of your human or personal capital by doing this. And so what I would advise you to do is to learn as much about a small business before you invest. Learn as much as you can. So my scheduler when I worked in Dallas, Texas was a guy named Bill. And Bill and his wife thought that they would like to have a Schlotzsky's franchise. This was back when Schlotzsky's was big and growing. And so they went to a seminar put on by Schlotzsky's for potential franchisees. And they were shocked and horrified at how much of the seminar dealt with the need to prevent employee theft. It turns out the kind of people who start small businesses tend to be honest, hardworking people, and they mistakenly tend to assume that other people are as honest and hardworking as they are. But in truth, the people that you can hire to work in these places generally may not share those values with you. And so one of the things you have to worry about is employee theft. And basically you are responsible for the behavior of your employees. And once again, in the age of social media, it does not take long for one little incident to snowball into a nightmare for you as a small business owner. You should probably also talk with current owners of the kind of business you would like to invest in. For instance, if you are thinking about owning a McDonald's franchise, you should try to hunt down your local McDonald's franchisee, or better yet, one outside your area, and sit down with them and talk about their business and ask them about what their life is like and what their biggest concerns are at the end of the day. And ask them about what a typical day is like for them. When do you get up? When do you go to bed? How many phone calls do you get about your various locations during the day? And what are the kinds of problems that you face? And you may figure out pretty quickly that this is not the life for you, and that your job as an accountant is not that bad. Now, of course, until you actually experience something for yourself, you really can't understand it. So I would advise that you get a job in the type of business that you want to run or own before you buy one. I'll give you an example. When I thought I might want to become a professor, instead of just quitting my job and going to doctoral school, I got a job teaching a GMAT review course for Kaplan on the weekends while I kept my regular job. And I learned quite a bit about teaching, and I learned quite a bit about whether I liked teaching. And if I had hated teaching, I would not have quit my job then and gone to doctoral school. But since I did enjoy teaching, I went ahead and quit my job and went to doctoral school, and to this day I still use things that I learned during that time as a Kaplan GMAT prep teacher. So let's say that you want to perhaps get, and I'm going to use McDonald's again here as the example, a McDonald's franchise. You really need to know what goes on in a McDonald's. Now, I know you probably are used to making a good salary, and you think, well, I have $1 million net worth. I should not be working as a fry cook at McDonald's. I think that might be a mistake. Here's what I would tell you need to do, and that is get the job at McDonald's. Of course, you'll start at the low end, but it won't take long before they figure out that you have what it takes to be a shift leader, then a manager, and so forth. Because the turnover at these locations are pretty big, it's really easy for people to move up, especially if you display some sort of work ethic or talent. And hopefully you have both work ethic and intelligence, or you would not be contemplating having your own small business. So you'll move up pretty quickly. And this will give you the opportunity to learn the ins and outs of the operations. And it will give you the opportunity to learn what it's like to deal with employees, because dealing with employees is not what you might expect. You will find that you end up being parent, priest, analyst, providing all sorts of support work for these folks that work for you. People don't understand that that's how this works. People don't leave their personal baggage at home. Humans carry that stuff around with them everywhere, and they bring it into the workplace. And so as a necessity, you will wind up having to deal with that. And so one of the ways you can find out whether or not you can handle that is by taking one of these jobs and managing one of these facilities for someone else before you buy your own. And that'll also give you the opportunity to learn from some more experienced people along the way. As you encounter problems, you can always ask a more senior person how they would handle the situation, and you can tuck those things away in your memory for future reference. And finally, working for someone else gives you the opportunity to make your mistakes on someone else's dime. Now that sounds terrible and it sounds horribly selfish, but I would tell you that you would probably make fewer mistakes than the kind of schmuck they would hire to do this job if you were not doing it. And so don't feel bad about making the mistakes that you do on someone else's dime, because undoubtedly the person that would be doing that job, if it weren't you, would be doing even worse. So don't feel bad about that. So after hearing all of this and thinking about it, if you still want to be a small business owner, I would tell you you should watch my video on valuing small businesses to make sure that you are not paying too much. And I'll put a link to that video in the comment section. And if you like my video, please hit the like button, and if you want to subscribe, that's great, do that, and then you could hit the little bell, and that way you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. Thanks a bunch.